It's dated January 21st, 2024, because we'll be referencing this interview maybe in 3-4 years from now when you have a completed film and it's at a major film festival, and I get to interview you for a second time.
We'll talk about Rubber Hut.
Yes. I'm speaking with Hanna Gray Organschi, which doesn't sound Italian to me.
Well, it sure isn't.
It's
well,
what?
It's been made Italian.
Italiano.
Yeah.
You're fresh from the Sundance Screenwriters Labs with your project Rubber Hut, one of a dozen out of 4,000 submissions, which is just crazy odds. 2024 should be a rather interesting big year for you because you have your second short that you're most likely going to release this year. And it's executive produced by Spike Lee and Reva Marker, who's, I think, part of Jake Gyllenhaal's company.
She used to work with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I saw that you got a grant, a fund. And I can't believe such a fund exists, but it sort of like makes sense for the times that we're living in. I just want to get a sense of what are the conditions, what are they hoping to help elevate a project like this? What does that fund help you with?
The Annenberg Inclusion Initiative Fund. Yeah, it's the Reproductive Rights Accelerator grant, and it's supported by the USC Annenberg Foundation, run by Dr. Stacy Smith, who's a complete powerhouse of a person in our industry, but also just in the world. I mean, it's easier for me to talk about what the grant allows me to do. But I think that the conception of the grant is that people are angry about the state of women's reproductive rights and about reproductive rights in general in our country. And I am not somebody who enters writing with a topic or politics in mind. I think that's something that is kind of just embedded in my work because of the way I see the world. I was very interested in making a movie about a young woman who was interested in having sex for the first time and navigating that. And I applied for the grant because I think that reproductive rights and women's agency can't be separated, and they seem to dig the project. And I think I kind of can't believe that they're in my corner. I can't wait to share the film with them.
Great.
Yeah.
And so the short and your proposed future feature sort of belong in the same world. I don't think it's a proof of concept whatsoever, but there are strands, there's connective tissues between the two.
Totally.
Did the short sort of like inform you on, did it give you the leeway to sort of like expand in that universe, or to start thinking early 90s what that meant? Like,
totally.
Okay.
I mean, it's such a great question because it's, it's my world right now. They're of the same world. I think that's exactly how I'd put it. I've never totally understood proof of concept. For me, it's just an opportunity to play with characters and spaces and feelings that interest me. So Rubber Hut has been, my feature, has been kind of in my life for about 2.5 years. And I knew that making a short film that was set in the early 90s that explored some of the people and dynamics that the feature explores would be a good way to work with my team and work with actors to try to, chip away at what I'm after in the feature. I've never personally understood how to write something that could exist, at 90 minutes long and then try to retrofit it into something that's much shorter. So I think of Fuck That Guy is the name of my thesis short film. Excuse me, F That Guy, depending on who the audience is. I thought the best way to think about that film is like if you are the lead of Rubber Hut and we are in a coffee shop and we never interact, maybe I could be the lead of the short film. So we go to the same places, we kind of speak the same language, maybe there's a connective tissue in our community and the kind of like the places that we frequent, but there's no actual overlap. So yeah, those are how the worlds collide a bit.
For you to have gotten into the lab, there had to be like a eureka moment in the screenplay, what they read. What do you think was the main drawing point, the lure? Was it the tone? Was it the principal character? What did you feel a sense that like you got 5 advisors all agreeing and saying, this is why you're here?
I come from a kind of a long line of idiosyncratic, stubborn, quasi-unlikable New England women. I write what I know. I think that there's a way to use all of those words as a diss. I think that they're amazing. I think that on bad days, maybe they're not so great, but on good days, they're really powerful. And Emanuela, who's the protagonist, the heartbeat of this film, I think she's completely electric. And I think that the way that she moves in spaces and the way that she talks is hard not to pay attention to. So in so much as in this draft that I applied to the lab with, that came through, I wonder whether that kind of energy and that dynamism was exciting to people. I hope so. It's exciting to me.
It's an interesting character. If you think about her professional life, she went from working for Pan Am as perhaps a flight attendant, but then becoming an entrepreneur. And I think women entrepreneur at that very specific timeline in Americana is like something like rather new and fresh, and like was not a that to make that career move was not really allowed, perhaps.
I think it's really interesting when people, particularly women, do things that they're not really allowed to do. And not allowed usually just means it's not been done before. I mean, look, my mom was starting a business in the 90s. You know, there's a lot of overlap temperamentally, energetically between my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, you know, and my main character. You know, she alienated a lot of people, but not because she didn't move with kindness, but because she did things that were hard to do, and she had to be tough in doing it. I think at the time I didn't have kind of a language for what that was, but now in retrospect, I mean, man, like no better lesson than that, than have a mother who led with kindness and with intention and with like, just like she's fierce. My mom is fierce, and the woman at the heart of the story is too. So
cool.
That excites me.
I was trying to get a sense of where this could fall tonally. I'm probably completely off, but I was thinking of Alexander Payne's Citizen Ruth, kind of like a dramedy type route. What kind of tone do you intend to employ here? Is it portions of dark comedy perhaps, and maybe drama? How does this feel like?
Well, I love that as kind of the texture of what you're talking about. I hadn't thought of that as a reference. I have to sit with it, and of course we'll rewatch the film. I mean, I maybe if Tanya and Aaron Brockovich were on a collision course, the film could kind of exist in the aftermath of that. Yeah, I think that there's like some dark humor, but I think the world is completely insane and really difficult. I feel very lucky, and I think that there's a lot of darkness, and the way that I move in the world is by focusing on people, and people are really funny. They do really incredible things, and they do really bad things, and there's a lot of humor there. So I can't separate the two, and I don't want to. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, but outside the film, there's people behind the lines. There's a constellation of people that are probably already part of your team. I don't know if you're allowed to name those people. Do you have people in key positions? We're not talking about the cast, but... Sure. I mean, it's like my favorite thing to talk about, my two teammates who are my producing partners, and they are with me in Fuck That Guy in the short, and will be with me, are with me in Rubberhead. Elizabeth Woodward, who's the founder of Willa Productions, is an absolute tour de force of woman watch out world. I mean, the world's already watching out. And Tara Sheffer, who was a year above me at NYU, and I basically, in the beginning of the pandemic, had a lot of time, and when school went virtual, and I watched a ton of shorts from NYU students in the years above me, and the name that was on all of those films that I loved was Tara Sheffer, producer. So I sent her an email and I basically said, can I pitch you on an upcoming project? And it was very formal because I thought she was intense, and I took her time seriously, and we've developed an incredible friendship and have since made a lot of work from there. But the trio is incredible. There's always a bad cop, there's always a good cop, sometimes all three good cops. So Tara Sheffer and Elizabeth Woodward. are the people that I can say with confidence are like locked arms with me.
I love that. You're coming back from the labs, you're on a little mini vacay right now, doing a lot of meetings, whatnot. And as we know, the people that do attend the labs, they're broken, their screenplays are shredded up, they're given a vote of confidence, they're also elevated, and so I wanted to get a sense of what that feels like internally. What did that do to you? Like, how do you look at the material and that fresh perspective that you're going to have in a week or two from now when you go back to the material? Like, how are you, what does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't talked that much about the experience because it's still, it's like my least articulate mode when I start to try to describe what it was. I will say that I feel like my brain broke in ways that were necessary and my heart feels really full. I ended my advisor sessions with Jessie Nelson, who couldn't have been more generous. In some ways, I thought that it was sort of a synopsis of everything that I discussed with all of the other fellows and all of the other advisors. In other ways, I think we kind of started to ask questions that I hadn't asked in the days previous, which messed me up further, but in a way that makes me excited to just sit with the conversation. I mean, the best thing that could have happened coming out of the labs was going to, I was very lucky to get to go to The Pony Boy, which is River Gaio's film, writer River Gaio, who also stars in the film. I got to go to the dinner with that team because Victoria Pedretti, who's one of the lead actors in that film, is a dear friend of mine and a dear collaborator. And the energy of being in that room was so moving and so inspiring. I thought I'd been told that I would get to the festival and it would be a completely different scene, and it was. And then I entered that room and I just got to be quiet and witness this filmmaking team talk about process and community and the making of something that really mattered. And I thought, oh, this is it. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to create something that we care about with people who care about similar things and who want to move in the world the same way. So that helped me. Honestly, it helped me to be in that space and to witness that in real time, for the future.
I'll end with one final question. I checked out your IMDb credits beforehand. As I mentioned before, you were an assistant to a director that is near and dear to my heart. So you were on the set for The Devil all the time with Antonio Campos.
Yeah.
How is that experience like for you? To be able to see the process, but from so many different angles. It's not fetching coffee, it's actually being part of the larger creative hub.
Yeah, I mean, it was everything. Antonio Campos, Reba Marker, Randall Poster, Annie Martyr, Lowell Crawley. I mean, I had no idea who these people were. I mean, it sounds incredibly naive, and I'm embarrassed that I'm admitting it on camera, but I got a call from Reba Marker's assistant saying, and we'd met months earlier, saying, you wanted a job in narrative film, now there is one, do you want to move to Alabama in 3 days? And I said, yeah. And I didn't know what it was. And so what was it? It was everything. I just worked as hard as I could for people who were kind and intense. And kind and intense is like bread and butter. That's the best. And had a sense of humor. So forever grateful to that group. And it's very moving to me that they have kind of, in different ways, supported my thesis film. Randall Poster's company is overseeing the music supervision, which is awesome because it's early 90s and they know what's up. Antonio's kind of forever my person. Reba Marker's EPing it. It's extraordinary.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to Rhode Island, 1992, entrepreneurial women, headstrong women, Italian women, and seeing how she's part of that fabric. So congratulations on getting into the labs, and thank you so much for your time, and pleasure meeting you.
Thank you for caring about movies.
Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.